This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
I thought my voice is like raspy. I'm not sick, but I just sort of like hacking away right before you push the record button. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. So Josh, I want to talk about your job.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to know all the little details about it, how you feel, what you're doing, what's your favorite part, what's not working,
Right.
Everything all along. Now, your title is library assistant?
Yes.
Okay. And what does that mean? What do you do? What are you responsible for?
So, previously, what the title would have been, like maybe even 5 years ago or so, was page.
Page?
Page.
Huh. You love that, don't you? Yeah.
So, it's now just been called a library assistant.
Okay.
And what I do is I pick up books from the Dropbox, which there's two of them outside and then there's one inside. Mm-hmm. So I pick all those up, I bring them to the front desk, and then I wipe them down and everything. And that includes things like DVDs and CDs as well. Mm-hmm. So I have to make sure that they're all in good condition and everything, and if there is some sort of issue with it, I bring it to another person's attention. Mm-hmm. The other person is who actually checks in the books after I've cleaned them up and everything. Mm-hmm. And then what I do is, because I don't actually check in the books or check them out to people or anything, this location actually has an automated checkout system, meaning it's all digital. You just scan it and with your
yourself?
Yeah.
Now that's different than when we went there even like right before COVID.
Right.
Because this library that
it is fairly new, yeah.
Yeah, because where you're working is where we used to take the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that we would have to give their pile of books to the librarian and they would check them out. And, that's not the case anymore?
If you have questions and stuff like that, they're still there. But
I'm talking about...
I know. I'm to check out items, though. To borrow the items. You go up to a little kiosk and you scan the barcode. First, you put in your library ID and your PIN number, which I believe is just your birthday or something like that. But then you scan the books. Say you're going to check them out. You get printed a receipt and it's logged in for us.
Well, what's your responsibility?
My responsibility is to gather the books after people drop them off, clean them up, hand them off to the people who check them in. Then I put all the books and stuff away.
Okay. So...
And let me put it this way. There are constantly things coming back for me to put back. So every 2 hours, every odd-numbered hour, I guess I should say, I go out and I go to the drop boxes and collect all the books. Then I come in and for maybe half an hour to 45 minutes, I'm cleaning all of them, if there's a large amount. And then after that, after they get put onto a different shelf that means that they've been checked in, I take them and put them where they're supposed to be. Usually by the time I finish that, it's time to go out and collect more books.
Okay. And how do you know exactly where they go? What on a book lets you know where it should go? That
has a lot of stuff to it.
Okay.
There are obviously the the name of it just flew out of my head. First there's fiction, which goes by last name of author.
Okay.
And that's on the spine of it too. A little thing with the usually the first three letters usually it's the last name, then the first initial of the first name, and then.
Is this something they had to teach you?
They didn't have to teach me too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
Dewey Decimal System.
I knew. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say it. And I'm like, no, you couldn't be talking about.
It's the same process that I grew up with in elementary, middle, and high school.
And they're still using it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that usually the number system like that is specifically for nonfiction.
So you love this so much that I've always thought your favorite dog is a corgi.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that if you got a corgi, you would probably name it Dewey. Because you just like your favorite things, right? And not only is it represent what you find in the library, but here it is like your favorite little, type of a breed of a pup. But it's also Dewey is organized.
Yeah.
So it's got a certain. It's not the right thing, but when I think of you and I think about
it's
that,
a correlation. Yeah.
Like a rhythm.
Yeah.
It's I know that's not the right word, but to me, when you have always talked to me about a library and what you want to do, it felt like the rhythm of it.
Yes.
Is something that you really are
routine.
drawn to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's only part of how I sort things in the library.
Okay.
There's, on top of having, that's all adult fiction and nonfiction.
Okay.
On top of that, there is so many sections really. Mm-hmm. There's a section for graphic novels. Mm-hmm. Then there's also a section for new books, which
new to the library or newly published?
I believe it's both. Mm-hmm. I'm not 100% certain of that though. Okay. With that being said, those 4 sections are also included in a young adult section, a juvenile section, and an easy read section. On top of all of that, there's also movies and series that are on DVD.
Right.
That are also broken up like that.
So there's something that's I'm very interested in hearing how it is that you maneuver through this. And my guess would be it's because it's the thing that you love. And I would love to know the answer to this. Mm-hmm. So there's moving parts, it seems, but those moving parts are very controlled.
Yes.
And that's something that you like.
Yeah.
You like the concrete. We've talked about this before. You love the concreteness of a book.
Yes.
You like the feel of it and the smell of it, and the font.
Yes.
The text, all of it.
Yeah.
And
I'd like to bring up something about that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Kayla. Mm-hmm. One of the things...
a friend that you had a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's been very important in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things she used to do is she would smell the book.
Oh, yeah.
And she'd be able to tell if it was a good book or not, depending on how it smelled. And it's
funny.
True.
Yes.
It's weird, but it's true.
I know what you're talking about. Yes, I know what you're talking about. And you know what's interesting about this? Is that in college, I never bought a brand new book, cracked it open, and it had that smell that you're talking about. Never. I'm like, oh, come on. Yeah, right. With that, but I know what you're talking about.
Sometimes new books have no, it's okay.
Yes.
But usually the older ones are that have the age and everything else like that. Usually have that.
Right.
Sorry, I'm letting in Nellie.
Come on, Button. Yes, and I move over here. Can you let me get her?
I'll pick her up.
I'll get her.
Okay.
I got her, honey. There you
Okay.
go. There you go, baby. Yes, I know that smell. And
Some older books don't even have that though. which is what I found strange, is that usually the books that are well loved and everything like that are really good stories, have this smell to it.
Right. Right.
Whereas other ones don't.
Yeah.
And it's so weird, but it's...
It is, but I know exactly what you're talking about. There is nothing like a book, a good book, with that smell.
Yeah.
And you just kind of jumping into it and,
Yeah.
getting lost there.
Yeah.
Yes. I know what you're talking about. So the thing about the library that I wanted to ask you about with this job, now, I've seen you work before with different people, and sometimes it was for pay, and sometimes it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I know about you is that when you're working someplace, you show up on time.
Yeah.
You're very good at getting up when you need to get up and to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I did notice too, in those jobs, you began to feel exhausted.
Yeah.
And it's because you weren't happy doing the work.
Right.
It was a job to you.
Right. Or it was the people there that were making it difficult.
Yeah, so that statement makes me think of something here.
Mm-hmm.
We know that when people don't follow the rules, that is very difficult for you to move past.
Yes.
And in those other jobs, was that the situation? Or was it just that you had a difference of opinion on the best way of doing something? Or what was it that was... Because my point is this, that you went to these jobs. The one job with Mr. Barnt baling hay,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of got...
I got in a rhythm with that.
You got in a rhythm there, and he was just a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And he became your mentor.
Yeah.
And so that was really an awesome experience for you. But what happened? Other places you just kind of get, when the environment is not inviting.
Right.
And when your what your expectation is not what it turns out to be.
Right.
Then you kind of begin to
wane.
Yeah, kind of. You lose interest, or you have a hard time functioning.
Yeah.
And this one feels from the very beginning different.
Oh, it went away. I was about to sneeze.
Oh, this one feels...
Oh, come on.
I hate that. Yeah. So this one feels very different. It looks very different, I should say.
Yeah.
So is that because you're doing the thing that you love? Is it because of the people? Or describe what works for you in this new job.
So, in this job, in this position, there is a set schedule for things. Mm-hmm. Like a set schedule for my work.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like for the days I work is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's very helpful to know that far out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get a month's schedule beforehand.
Right.
And on top of that, with this particular position at this place, it is amazing how awesome these people I'm working with are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so welcoming,
mm-hmm.
they're so understanding, they're very helpful. Whenever I have questions for anything, they make sure they take the time to fill me in on everything. Mm-hmm. And if there is something that they can't help me with, then I've had one instance, and that's it, where someone was a little bit short with me, And afterwards, after they were done dealing with the customer that they were dealing with, they came and found me and apologized about how they acted
Oh, wow.
on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And they explained themselves, and just say they told me that they were very focused on what they were doing and having an outside influence trying to help him and the customer while they were doing it would not have been conducive in that instance.
Okay.
And he apologized for being short with me about that.
Wow. Very cool.
And so yeah, he explained himself, and I understood.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool that even though it wasn't a great situation,
Yeah.
it was fully explained to me why it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and that they were sorry that it came across as being mean
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that.
Did you have any feelings about that, the way that he said it to you, or was it kind of a surprise that he came and apologized?
It was honestly kind of a surprise, as I wasn't expecting it,
Mm-hmm.
and because whenever it happened, I understood that he was busy
Mm-hmm.
helping them.
Yeah.
So
You didn't view it as him being rude or out of line with you. You viewed it as him being stressed, dealing with a situation.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the only time I've had any kind of... It wasn't even negative, really. It was just, oh, okay.
Yes. Right. Right.
Yeah, so
Which is one of the cool things about you, and I've seen this on others on the spectrum, in that you don't get all stressed out over the way somebody says something. Typically,
Mm-hmm.
do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would. I'm not
Unless
surprised
it's
by that
kids.
answer. Huh?
Unless it's the kids, apparently.
The kids. That's a totally different story, dude. Those kids make you crazy.
Oh my gosh, they do.
Yes. And you get on to Connor for doing something, and then I look at you, and I'm like, dude, you're him, just big. Like, the same scenarios that we deal with. Yes. So I did want to ask you about something, though. So this job, you seem... And I know that you're in the early stages. You've worked for a week now.
Mm-hmm.
Already got a paycheck.
2 weeks, actually.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I got a paycheck. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you really... This is... I mean, I can't overstate the importance of this, that you've always wanted to work in a library.
Yes.
And so your behavior, your attitude, the way that you present before you go and the way you present when you come home, it's different. There's been, and I understand that you've had a couple of jobs. The baling hay
Mm-hmm.
was a very strenuous,
Yeah.
physical
Physically.
job.
Yeah.
And then you did pressure washing, which
Mm-hmm.
was the same thing.
Yeah.
But the especially this last one that you had, where you tried pressure washing,
Mm-hmm.
you were wiped out.
Yeah.
And it was not just the physical labor, it was having to deal with other people that were not...
That were butting heads with me because they were also on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this one feels different. It looks different.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just say it that way. It looks like it feels different.
Yes.
Yeah. So, is there anything about this job that's hard for you?
The first day, or at least the first week, my legs were exhausted and burning constantly because I kept on having to squat down to put books on the bottom two shelves.
Mm-hmm.
On the first day, that was most of my work, was on the bottom two shelves throughout the library.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought it up to someone afterwards. Like, oh, that's not typical, but it is kind of funny, isn't it? I said, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gotten better because reasons I don't know. Probably I got used to it, and
tell me what it feels like. See, I've done stand up for so long that I can just, without even stretching my imagination in the least, I know what it feels like to be, okay, it's time to get ready to go. I know what it feels like to be hitting the road, to driving to the gig. I know what it feels like walking into the gig, the chatter, the energy of what's happening, and the unknown, which is something that's really cool to me. Like, you never know how a show is going to go.
Right.
But it's that, it's Friday, Saturday night, 7:30, 8 o'clock comes around. I'm kind of pacing.
Yeah.
If I'm not on stage, I'm kind of pacing.
Yeah.
It's like,
even if it's not physically, yeah.
Yeah. But it's that whole scenario from beginning to end. It's sharing space with people.
Yeah.
And having this conversation with them from the stage, and this experience, and just this feedback, and it's just what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And so I get that. I know what these places smell like. I know, which is not always good, but yeah. But just the vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's that thing. For you, describe what it's like to be working, all of these hours in your favorite place, surrounded by books.
It is soothing.
Oh, nice.
That's the word.
Nice.
I was trying to think of it. That's how I feel. Is that it's very soothing, very because it's so repetitious and very. This is what you have to do. This is where this goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's very soothing to me.
Wow.
And if something does come up that I need to do that's different than the routine, I'm usually made aware of it 45 minutes to an hour beforehand.
They do that for you?
Yeah.
Do they know that that's important to you?
I don't know if they do or not, but they do it.
Right.
And so it's really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's more so because usually I'm busy doing something, like putting the books back or something like that. Mm-hmm. So they let me know so that the next time I have an available minute or so, that I can go off and do that.
So there's not a lot of time where you're standing around.
No, I'm constantly standing.
No, I mean just with nothing to do.
Oh, yeah, that's correct. Mm-hmm. There's barely any time like that.
Right. So you can't really crack open a book and...
Right.
Yeah, because you're so busy. But
right. With that said, the only time I really get to do that is during my lunch break.
Mm-hmm. And do you do that?
Yeah.
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 Have you found any new books?
A couple.
Mm-hmm.
A couple, yeah.
So, something that we had talked about before is that because you have a diagnosis of autism, here in Virginia you work with an agency, a couple of different agencies, with the intention of them helping you get to work, and and they help us with that SSI and all that stuff. And the person that was supposed to be working with you to help you on the job, something happened there and it hasn't been working.
Well,
she hasn't been there.
Because initially the paperwork got lost in or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, the library needs paperwork to show that you need somebody to shadow you,
yes.
And then they're fine with it.
Yeah.
It's just that it hasn't taken place yet.
Right.
Okay. So, I'm a supporter of that kind of help, because to me it resembles a TSS.
Mm-hmm.
So in school, you therapeutic staff support is what that stands for.
Mm-hmm.
And you would go to school, you would have that person meet you at school,
Mm-hmm.
and she would be there for in the moment, helping you to see how to maneuver through situations or around situations.
Yeah.
And
Immediately after the fact.
yes, and right. And some,
How I did something right, how I could have done things better, yeah.
mm-hmm. And so this person with the same goal in mind, which is to help you to see that, for you to work independently,
Mm-hmm.
for you to see what might need. Do you know how when you do the dishes,
Mm-hmm.
and this has happened a number of times, where there's something still sitting on the stove, and you think all the dishes are done, and you'll leave, and you won't see that, oh, the counters weren't wiped down, and that there was something sitting on the stove.
Right.
And that type of thing is that this person would show you, oh, there's these things that you might not be seeing, but there can be help you to be
Right.
successful.
Right.
But what's happened is she hasn't been there,
Right.
and nonetheless, your boss called you over to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that.
Oh, no. It wasn't like that. It was just like, hey, whenever you have a minute, could you help put some of these tables away later on? And or is that not what you're talking about?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about your boss telling you about what they think about the job that you're doing.
I'm blanking on what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
You have a boss.
Mm-hmm.
It's a female, because you told me their name and I can't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a brief conversation with you about how happy they are.
Yes. What are you asking?
To share how that conversation went, what it was about, and because I'm thinking, I'm bragging on you without saying that I'm bragging on you, but now I'm saying that I'm bragging on you, so that's clearly what I'm doing.
Okay.
But
So,
my point is that you are supposed to have this person in place.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't worked out, and yet your boss
So
had a conversation with you.
Yeah. She met up with me while at work, and she said, "Hey, could you follow me? I'd like to talk to you." I'm like, "Uh-oh." And so we got to where we were going, and I was like, the first thing she said is, "Now you've done nothing wrong, so you don't have to worry about anything right now." Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness." Mm-hmm. And she laughed because I actually did say that. Yeah. And she said, "No, actually, we're really pleased with how quickly you're catching on to where things go, and everything is going great with you, and we're really happy to have you here."
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, give him 5. Woo! Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It feels to me that it feels to me, just because knowing you like I do, that this just clicked.
Yeah.
This just feels right. It's easier for you because you're doing something that you love.
Yeah.
And I know that people say that, do the thing that you love.
Yeah. But not very many people actually get to.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet you're doing this, and it looks to me like you feel very happy.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just that it's something I love to do. It's also giving me a bit of structure in my life, mm-hmm. really. Mm-hmm. And it's, while I'm still having some issues here at home, like remembering to do laundry and things like that, mm-hmm. other than to me smaller things like that, things are actually feeling to be fitting in better, like in my life. Mm-hmm. And part of it is because of this structure that I have by having a job that I love.
What do you mean that it fitting into your life? Do you mean that they're more doable, they're more organized, or they're not as stressful?
Before I got this job, I'd be lucky if I could remember what day of the week it was.
That's true.
And so now that I do have work and it's on a set schedule, it's very helpful in that regards to be scheduling work at a certain time on a certain day. Really helps me to manage my weeks better.
Right. Is it doing anything like reminding you of things? Like, are you able to remember other things better, or not quite? You're just saying that things all around feel better.
I can't think of a specific example, but it does feel like things are fitting together better.
Well, one thing that I can say is that you seem more content, for sure. Even on days when you're not working, you seem like this has done something for your self-esteem. It's done something for your confidence.
Yeah.
And I can see that. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, so you're comfortable at work?
Yeah, I am.
What about the brightness, the lights, the sounds? I mean, it's fantastic for you because not only is there books, but you got to whisper. So this is like a dream job for you.
Well, you don't have to whisper.
Yeah.
But there's no yelling or anything else like that going on.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool like that. Yeah.
Right. What is your favorite part of the job?
Can I just say all of it?
You could, yeah.
Yeah, all of it. It's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's helpful that the people that you work with seem to be really kind people.
Yeah.
And encouraging people.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not surprised that they like you. Because, I know you, I see you, I love you, so, I get it. I get why they like you so much.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I like you a little bit too.
So, we'll talk about the money just briefly here. You said all along that it's not about the money. This is your dream job.
Yeah.
They started you out at $9.50 an hour, which is above minimum wage. But we here in Virginia, they are starting January
1st.
January 1st, they're giving everybody a raise. Not just people that work at libraries.
Right, the minimum wage is raising.
Is going to $11 an hour.
Yes.
And then every year after that, it goes up by $1 until it reaches $15 an hour.
Yeah.
So right now you're at $9.50. January 1st, you're going up to $11 an hour. And you're working about 20 hours a week, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And so what has to be done is that we have to report the earnings to Social Security. And we haven't done that yet. That'll happen in November for October.
Yes.
And I did find out that the Social Security offices are not open yet because of COVID.
Oh.
So what we'll do is we'll send those in with a
sign thing?
Yes, where they've got a sign for it.
Yeah.
It's going to cost a little bit of money to do that, but until they are there physically again. This is the way that we have proof that it was turned in, and it was turned in on time. So that's how that's going to happen.
Okay.
But and because there's the things that we have to follow with Social Security to show that you're making this much money, so they deduct half of that from your SSI. So anyway, it feels pretty good to you to be making money.
Yeah. But it feels even better just to be working there.
Yeah, that's really cool. Sometimes you work like an 8-hour shift. And how do you manage? I see what happens when you get home, which is one time you got home and you passed out.
Yeah.
And you slept through dinner. You didn't work the next day, so I didn't wake you up. I just, you were just wiped out.
Yeah.
And you slept for hours. So, sometimes when you work 8-hour shifts, how do you manage staying focused for that length of time?
It's not necessarily a conscious effort, partially because it's what I enjoy doing, but also because it's very repetitive. So, like I said, every odd numbered hour, I go out and pick up the books, bring them in, clean them up, hand them off to the people who check them in, and by that time there's already some books on the thing for me to put away. Go put them away, go check them again, put them away, go check them again, put them away, and then by the time that's done, it's time to pick up more books. So like I said, it's very repetitive.
So there's, there's this clear routine that you have at work. And that, listening to what you're saying, no wonder it's going so well. Because you got this combination of the thing that is your favorite thing of all time.
Yeah.
And your responsibility is regimented.
Yeah.
It's you do this at this time, you do this next. Yeah. You do this at this time, you do this next.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that makes you feel comfortable. That's the stuff that makes you relax.
Yeah.
Because we've talked before, you like concreteness.
Yeah. One of the things that whenever I went to get my ID for this job, I told him I was talking with the person who was taking the photo and everything, and I told him, I'm so happy I'm here. One of the things I love about it is that I don't deal with people, I deal with things. And they cracked up laughing.
Yeah, that's true. You said that a long time ago. You want to be in charge of things, not people.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's books are kind of like an extension.
Yeah.
They're a huge part of your life. So, it just kind of it just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So what about the people that come into the library? Do you help them find something? Do they ask you questions? Is it
most of the questions that I am asked, I have to refer them to the other people that work there.
Okay.
With that said, I do try and help out customers or patrons, I guess is what they're called at the library, but I try and help them out if they are having an issue finding something. But that hasn't happened very often.
Right. And so you really are focused about 100% of the time on the books.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And do you have a lot of coworkers?
Yeah. About 15 to 20 of them.
And everybody follows the same rules?
What do you mean?
This is how
yes.
you do something,
yes.
and this is so that's also soothing to you.
Yeah.
That's why you use the word that this is so soothing.
Yeah.
Because it has the elements of all the things, like your trifecta, right? Your trifecta: books, regimen, and people following the rules. So that's pretty much your ideal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So once things get worked out, are you open to having your work work coach? Are you open to having her come in there then and see what you're doing and see if she can give any input, or do you think it's not necessary at this point?
Honestly, I don't think it's necessary at the work site. No.
Mm-hmm. Right. Just because...
It's easy to take care of.
Well, and you've been waiting for this your whole life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have dreamt about this, and,
Yeah.
you know, you've spent so much time in the library,
Yeah.
kind of from the opposite side of the desk, but
Yeah.
you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. How did you overcome the overload that can happen? So you are taking in new information, even though this is a thing that you love.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking in so much new information from. So let me tell you that. Let me break it down a little bit. Knowing that you have to pick up the books at a certain time, that's some information.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what system they use and where to put things, that's another thing on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with the lights, the brightness in the place, dealing with the different personalities that come in. Has anybody ever asked you to do something when you're doing something else? I know that's a pet peeve of yours.
It's usually, hey, when you have a moment, could you do this?
Okay.
So it hasn't really come up yet in that regard. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember your other questions.
It's kind of like I'm wondering, did you ever feel overwhelmed with so much new information coming in? Because let's just replace the library with any place else.
Right. You don't even have to do that. So far, there has been a lot of information thrust upon me.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the first day, which was where I was signing a bunch of papers and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to work there, I was almost overwhelmed. But I wasn't. I was this close to being overwhelmed, but
yeah.
yeah. So, and everyone was really understanding and was able to answer my questions, and it was really cool.
Good.
Yeah.
And that was the worst of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think it's because you just know this environment so well that it just felt so familiar?
I think that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Is there anything else about the job that you want to share, or how you feel, or what you experience?
Not right now.
When you're at the job, you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. And there is something else that's unrelated that I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
Your birthday's this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so happy early birthday.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I forgot what I was going to ask you about. I know. I'm thinking of the goodies. Haley is making me a vegan carrot cake.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm going to love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to work, though.
1 to 5, yeah.
Yep. So, I don't know what I was going to ask you. I just had a question to ask you, and then that kind of threw me off. Yeah, it's kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say this, though, that we had talked about you about the car, about your car. And we did a podcast on that and what was difficult in you doing that. But I think the lesson, part of it with it, I think stuck, is that you can make an appointment for something and it'll be set for to be taken in and dropped off on that appointment time. But you took care of it.
Yeah.
And with Dad's help, you got the car fixed.
Yeah.
And so you've been driving yourself to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has to feel good too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That independence.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Not that you can think of. Okay. All right. Well, it's very cool. I'm so proud of you, and congratulations for your success in maneuvering through all of this. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. As we say, every time that we do this podcast, and we mean it, we truly value you and appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. If you can give us 5 stars, that helps out. If you go to my website, SONYAKING, that is where you'll find other podcasts and blogs.
.com.
.com. And, yep. So, check that out if you're interested. And we will be here next week. We are a day late because things are just in such upheaval here. We did get I don't know if I said this before, we did get a renovation on the house to build the mother-in-law suite on for Nana and Pappy. Starts in about 3 weeks.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so we are getting someplace with that. But
Good.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's about it. That's what's going on here. I hope everybody's happy and healthy and safe out there. And consider yourself hugged.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. All right, love you.
Bye.